Mermail, once a competitive deck as of recent, has thought to be washed up until we got Atlantean Dragoons off the May 2018 Forbidden List. Now these denizens of the deep are extremely strong. They can create lots of pressure, gain advantage, and then link summon out the wazoo, being able to create a depth of monsters to your side of the field. Which also is good about its depth is that this deck still hasn't reached its full potential. There are still new cards coming out that will help the Mermail strategy immensely. And I think that you'll be able to flood your opponent's board with so many monsters, it'll just overwhelm them. You guys see all those water puns I'm doing? I'm TheCaliEffect, and if you guys want to see more videos like this, then go ahead, high tide that subscribe button because we just too strong. But if you guys are feeling that low tide, then hit that notification bell because you guys should already know. I already said it before. I would also like to give a shout out to all of my Patreons. Without you guys, this video wouldn't be possible, and I really am appreciative of you guys. I also want to give a shout out while I'm here to the people that have bought, sold, or traded cards to me. You guys are invaluable as well. Without further ado, I present to you the best Mermail deck profile out there that just so happens to be competitive for the May 2018 format. Alright guys, so looking at the stats of Mermail, woo, the attack is off the, nah, it's not really off the charts. It's pretty decent, being able to summon a lot of 2400 attack monsters. It does have a pretty good attack, you would think, but then your opponent summons that 2500 attack monster and you have to rely on your destruction, which is fine, because this deck has a lot of power. I think the biggest problem of this deck is the consistency, which will be fixed once we get our new Mermail Link monster and a couple of other cards. I really want to say right now this deck can top a regional level of it, and that would be this deck's ceiling. But nonetheless, it's still a very powerful deck for anything in between. Let's start off with the monsters so I can show you guys how powerful this deck is. So starting off, it's going to be 3 copies of Mermail Abyss Megalo. If you're running less than 3 copies of Megalo, I really don't know what to tell you. This is the powerhouse of the deck. It's arguably still, again, one of the better cards of the deck. Now, in this Sekka build, you won't be able to gain full advantage of Mermail Abyss Megalo because you won't be able to search the Abyss spell and trap cards. But to be honest with you guys, the Abyss spell and trap cards are subpar in their own right anyways. Now granted, the main one does allow you to make Megalo 3200 attack, which is still good, but I'd still rather be drawing 2 cards and then shuffling brick cards in my hand to my deck than as opposed to giving him 800 attack. Nonetheless, he is the most searchable card in the deck because of your Dragoons is now at 3, and with the use of Mermail or with Atlantean Neptunus, this card is really powerful with the ability to attack twice, triggering your Neptunus effect by tributing it for its effect and gaining a Sea Serpent monster to your side of the field. Next, we're going to follow up with probably the most versatile card of the deck. This is probably the best Mermail of the strategy. 3 copies of Mermail Abyss. Now, the reason why this card is so good, because unlike Megalo, its cost is only 1 water monster, and then you get to add 1 level 4 or lower Mermail monster from your deck to your hand, so its effects does come in really handy throughout this game. So next, we're going to run 2 copies of Mermail Abyss Gun. Now, I up the copies of this card because it's so powerful in this, Nightmare build, mainly because Gun doesn't have to be sent to the graveyard to activate a water monster's effect. All Gun has to be done is discarded. So if you're link summoning into a Nightmare monster, you can pitch Gun from your hand to the graveyard and gain the ability to special summon any of your Mermail monsters from your graveyard to your side of the field for free. It's a very highly consistent card. It worked with so many combos inside of this deck. And then lastly, to follow up with the Mermails is 1 copy of Mermail Abyss Pike. I really would love to run 2 copies of this card. It is an extremely powerful card in this deck. When it's normal summon or special summon, you can pitch a water monster from your hand to add 1 level 3 or lower water monster from your deck to your hand. So it can add Abyss Guns, it can add Marksmans, it can add Abyss Dines, or I'm sorry, it can add, well actually it could add Abyss Dine because that's a card I really wanted to play. But it also can add Genex Undine, which is just phenomenal inside this deck. A card that I did want to talk to you guys about is Abyss Dine. I don't think I have a copy like in my face right now, but Abyss Dine is also another terribly powerful card, mainly because it allows you to special summon itself when it's added from your deck to your hand. So all you have to do is summon Mermail Abyss Pike and add your Abyss Dine to your hand, and you get a free level 3 monster to your side of the field. But even more importantly, Abyss Dyne also works really well with Abyss Gun, because if Abyss Gun special summons Abyss Dyne to your side of the field, Dyne's effect will then trigger to special summon Abyss YuGiOh. I want to say that this deck is still in the testing phase. I think we have some really good combos with this deck. We have some really good things going, but I really want to try to squeeze Dyne back into this build. Another card I want to talk about is, of course, Mermail Abyssinieri. That card is just godly, really good. Mainly because when it is summoned to your side of the field, or I'm sorry, it allows you to boost all of your water monsters stronger to what they are, and you get to destroy a water monster in the process, so monsters like Mandor will allow you to gain effects. But when it's summoned on the field and sent to the graveyard, you can draw a card and discard one card. That's invaluable, especially when you have cards like Mermail Abyss Gun inside of your deck. Another card I want to talk about is Abyss YuGiOh. This card is also extremely powerful, especially when you pair with Abyss Mandor. The Abyss YuGiOh and Mermail Abyss Deus combos allow you to make Bahamut Shark totally awesome and Mandor all in one play. And then the last card I want to talk about is what everybody does love to play, is Mermail Abyss Mandor. Now, these 4 Mermail cards are probably Mermail cards that I will be trying to squeeze with it, along with Abyss Pike, mainly because these cards are so powerful to the strategy, and they help with so many combos. The reason why I decided not to take them, or decided to take them out, is because there is one combo that I'm working on, and it requires a ton of extra deck space. I'll show you guys at the end of the video. So that's it for the Mermail monsters. We run quite a bit of engines inside of this deck, so let me just take you right to the Atlantean engine. Starting off with 3 copies of Nephthybus the Atlantean Prince. I'm going to say this before and I'm going to say it again. This card is really good going second. Going first, it's not as great because you can't tribute it while on your field unless you're activating Megalo, which means you would have to be able to enter your battle phase. I think it's a very exceptional card. It allows you to get into your combos. It sends Dragoons from your deck to your graveyard. Next, we're going to follow up with 3 copies of Atlantean Dragoons. This card coming off the Forbidden List was phenomenal, but the biggest problem about this card is that Yu-Gi-Oh! Is starting to become a faster paced game, and Dragoons just doesn't really cut it that much, because searching a Sea Serpent is good, but we're very limited in the good Sea Serpent cards we can add. To be honest with you guys, I think that Dragoons can come to 5 and the deck still wouldn't be as powerful, because the only 2 great targets, or the only 3 great targets, is Nephthybus, Megalo, and of course you also play Molan Glacia if you decide to play it, and Molan Glacia can be a bit bricky provided that you can't control your graveyards. So while I do welcome Dragoons at 3 inside of this deck, I also feel that we still need a couple of more cards to win that YCS level event. Next is 2 copies of Atlantean Infantry. This card is one of my more favorite cards because you can use both of these effects pretty efficiently. Infantry actually does give you an additional summon by having him on your side of the field. And also, when he's sent to the graveyard to activate a Water Monsters effect, you can destroy a face-up card on the field. So, it's a very, very good effect. And then lastly is 1 copy of Atlantean Marksman. This card has its great effects. Well, not lastly, but it has its great effects because if it inflicts damage to your opponent, you can special summon a Sea Serpent monster from your deck to your side of the field. So, Dragoons does come to the side of the field pretty easily through Marksman, and so does Prince, as well as Heavy Infantry. Now, lastly for the Sea Serpents is 1 copy of Deep Sea Diva, and Deep Sea Diva allows you to tutor Nephthybus, or even Marksman, or even Infantry from your deck to your side of the field. I've used a couple of combos to make some wacky link combos, but more often than not, you're going to be using Deep Sea Diva to summon Nephthybus. Now, you guys are probably wondering, hey, TheCaliEffect, why aren't you running Molan Glacia? And through quite a bit of testing with this deck, I felt that Molan Glacia, if you were to start or get off combos, Molan Glacia is awesome. Being able to rip 2 cards out of your opponent's hand is amazing, but still, we're in the trying phase of this deck. I got to get a couple of games done with it, and Molan Glacia was cut because of consistency issues. Opening Molan Glacia outside of already being able to set up your graveyard, so outside of going first, is extremely terrible because this deck doesn't have the graveyard management as it used to be. Possibly in the future when we have monsters to search out Molan Glacia faster, or cards to abuse Dragoons even faster, I could start considering Molan Glacia in here. It's a terribly awesome card, but at the same time, I don't want to lose my battle phase, and more often than not, all my monsters I want to summon, I want to be able to link away with them. We do run another engine, 3 copies of Gen X Undyne, and I don't want to tell you how powerful this card is in this deck. This is the reason why I actually switched from just normal Mermails to second Mermails. Basically, when this card is normal summoned, you can send 1 water monster from your deck to your graveyard. and then you get to add a Gen X controller from your deck to your hand. Now, of course, we run the 1 copy of Gen X controller because it's mandatory if you want to activate the Send effect. But this card is so powerful because it allows us to expand our link plays, and it works really well with every single engine inside of the deck. We also follow it up with 1 copy of Kristan Rosenex. The combo with this is to summon Undyne, Undyne send Rosenex to the graveyard, add controller. Rosenex banishes itself for a token. Use that token for Link Spider and then special summon controller. Now from there, you can make Nightmare Goblin. But once we get the new Kristan Link monster, you can use the controller and the Link Spider to make the Kristan monster and then just combo off from there. Special summon O-Lion to your side of the field and just go insane. It is really nutty. But until then, this card is a really good engine. It helps you boost right into Sarjuya, and it's just an insanely great engine. I actually did not like this engine at all until I started realizing, hey, Undyne can trigger it, drawing it is great. It's just an overall good engine because it provides monsters to your side of the field. 3 copies of Nimble Beaver, 2 copies of Nimble Angler, and 1 copy of Nimble Sunfish. Now, there was a point in time where I was running 3 Angler, 3 Beaver, and then there was a point in time where I was just running 2 Beaver, 1 Sunfish, and 3 Angler. And then I realized, first of all, I can only gain Angler's effect twice. Like, that is the maximum amount of times I'll be able to use Angler's effect. Secondly, Angler can't summon Angler, so it almost felt no reason to play multiple Anglers other than seeing it. Now, this deck is pressed for room, so I decided to cut the Angler to 2 because it's really easy to send it from the decks to the graveyard, as well as recurse it to your side of the field with Nimble Beaver, and Nimble Sunfish serves a really decent role into this deck. I wanted to run a 2nd copy just in case I ever needed to get off its effects, but it is another name to special summon off of Nimble Angler to help you with your Sarjuya plays. So that's it for the Nimble engine. We run another engine, which is the Frog engine. 3 copies of Swap Frog, 1 copy of Ronin Tannen. I really wanted to run Dupe Frog in this deck because after making Totally Awesome, Totally Awesome special summon Dupe Frog to your side of the field, and now your opponent has to deal with the Dupe Frog before they start attacking over your monsters. Nonetheless, the Swap Frogs activate as other Mermail monsters or pseudo Mermail monsters because you can pitch certain water monsters to the graveyard and gain their effects. For example, you can pitch Gun to the graveyard to gain its effect. Also, it's really good for setting up Totally Awesome plays. If you make Totally Awesome before you do into your combos or go for your OTK, your opponent's hand traps are almost useless because you'll be able to snatch them or negate them and then gain a water monster in the process. Next is Nightmare Corruptor Ibli. I don't think there's really any need to explain this card, but basically, the Nightmare Link monster that just so happens to be water allows you to special summon this monster to your side of the field and continue to link off plays. Now, I'm very unsatisfied with hand traps inside of this deck because they're not water. We do run 2 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring and 2 copies of Ghost Ogre. I decided these over 3 Kaiju Gam Seals and another water monster because these cards are just so powerful at disrupting your opponents on your first turn. Whereas if you have a Kaiju, your opponent can set up with a Link spam combo and give you the Ibli, and now you can't Kaiju your opponent. I just rather have some really good disruption, still waiting for that really good water monster. So that already is 39 cards. Trust me, I could have ran 45 cards in this deck. The last 3 copies are Light of Sekka. Unfortunately, if you're activating Light of Sekka, you really can't play any other spell cards. There's no really other way around it, unfortunately. But this card is really good for the deck. It allows you to tutor cards, draw 2 cards first of all, and then it allows you to tutor dead cards back into your deck. Now, I am missing out on quite a few awesome cards. Soul Charge, Pot of Desires, 1 for 1 are all pretty good cards, and of course the Mermail Spell and Trap cards. And I'll possibly even make a build that doesn't focus on Light of Sekka, just a pure Mermail deck. And if I will, I'm putting it on my Patreon, so go ahead and check out my Patreon. Again, you don't have to be a part of Patreon to see the Patreon rewards. Now, if you guys want to contribute, I more than welcome you. That is it for the main deck at 42 cards. For the extra deck, we actually had to make quite a bit of sacrifices. 1 copy of number 42 Galaxy Tomahawk. This card is still really busted in the deck. It allows for the combo to go off. 1 copy of Bahamut Shark. For the longest, I actually wasn't running this card. But then I actually started making a combo that requires 2 Atlantean Dragoons or get you 2 Dragoons to your side of the field. So then making Bahamut Shark wasn't that bad. 1 copy of Totally Awesome. This is where the deck kind of like, Totally Awesome is more often than not going to recur itself unless you guys have the OTK next turn and you don't worry about Totally Awesome recurring itself. 1 copy of Sarjuya. This card is just stupid good inside of this deck. It allows you to unbrick hands. Link Spider has so many uses inside of this deck, providing a Link monster by getting rid of a normal monster. Miss Starboy is also a really awesome card in this deck, allowing you to give your water monsters 500 attack, comes up for a lot of OTKs. And now for the Nightmare monsters, of course the Griffin. The combo does that I'm going to show you guys does involve making Griffin, Firewall Dragon, Bahamut Shark totally awesome on your first turn. And more often than not, you should win that game. Next is one copy of Nightmare Unicorn. This card is really powerful for getting over stuff. Nightmare Cerebus. This card is really good for getting over special summon monsters. My apologies. Nightmare Phoenix. This card is also awesome for getting rid of back row. Goblin is good. It's actually pretty mandatory inside of this deck for the second summon. And then lastly is Nightmare Mermaid. This card is paid attention to so much inside of this deck because you can gain your water monsters effects. As long as you're not pitching Neptibus, you're in a pretty good spot to gain your water monsters effects off of Nightmare Mermaid. As soon as we get a Nightmare monster that goes into the main deck that doesn't work, like that isn't Ibly, I feel like this card will be more powerful for Mermails. One Firewall Dragon, one Topologic Tribana. This card is godly in this deck. This deck plays no back row disruption, so making Tribana and then giving up a monster to banish all spells and traps actually comes up. And then Proxy Dragon. This card is extremely powerful as well. It's a little more powerful than you would like to give credit because it is a generic Link 2 monster. That's it for the extra deck. As you guys can see, I really am pushed for extra deck space. I'll show the combo that explains a lot. But some extra deck cards that I really wanted to play was, of course, Abyss Dweller. I actually sided for the Goki and True Draco matchup. I wanted to run another totally awesome. I wanted to run, of course, Abyss YuGiOh. There are just so many other cards I wanted to run, but this combo does take up quite a bit of space. It almost feels worth it, though. Next, for the side deck, 3 copies of Zaphion. That's basically our Mystical Space Typhoons. 1 Marksman, 1 Infantry. I wanted to stay true to this deck as a Sekka build and not play any spells and traps, so I just played monsters that got rid of problematic threats, and these cards are really good. Of course, the Abyss Dweller for True Draco, Goki, any of those problematic matchups. I do side the Mullen Glacia because the Mullen Glacia is still really good. If I know I'm going first, I can just pop out a Mullen Glacia and discard 2 cards from my opponent's hand. An extra Ogre and Ash, basically just really good hand traps. You interchange your hand traps. Kaiju Gamseel, I really decided to side these. If I'm not playing against Nightmare, these will probably get popped right in. And then, of course, the Droll and Locks. This card's really good against so many decks. It's just really powerful. That's it for the main board, sideboard, and extra deck. I'm going to show you guys one quick combo and the reason why I play so many different cards in my extra deck. It's going to be pretty exciting, and I'm still working on the combo. I'm still working on what this deck can do. I really want to give this deck an update, and if I do, it's going to be on my Patreon. Still, nonetheless, I think this is the best Mermail deck out there just because it allows you so much advantage, and you have so many options every time you open up a hand. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this combo is gonna blow your socks off. I haven't necessarily finished exactly what I wanted to do with it. I'm still in the process, but I'm telling you, it is an extremely powerful combo, and depending on the situation or other cards that you have in your hand, you can add additional cards to make it more powerful. So in order to do this combo, what you're gonna need is Mermail Abyssteus. You're also going to need, where is that card? Atlantean Dragoons, who would have guessed. There's one more component I'd like to add to this combo, and it's going to be Gen X Undyne. And those 3 cards really make the combo like just extremely good. So you're going to start off by activating Mermail Abyssteus' effect, pitching the Atlantean Dragoons to special summon itself to your side of the field. That's going to trigger your Dragoons and your Teus effect, and with that you're going to add a Deep Sea Diva from your deck to your hand, as well as go ahead and add the Mermail Abyss Gun from your deck to your hand. The next thing you're going to do is normal summon the Deep Sea Diva and then trigger its effect to special summon Atlantean Prince Neptibus to your side of the field. I think he needs to be over here, away from where the action is going to be. And then we're going to activate Neptibus' effect to pitch Dragoons, to add Dragoons. That's going to trigger Dragoons' effect to add Mermail Abyss Megalo from your deck to your hand. So this combo is pretty standard for almost every Mermail deck. It looks like basically the basics. You're going to use both the Diva and the Mermail Abyssteus to link summon right into, where is that card? your Miss Starboy, and Miss Starboy has those arrows pointing down, so you can take full advantage of it. Activate Abyss Megalo, pitching the gun in the Dragoons to summon itself to the side of the field, and then activate the Dragoons, activate the Abyss Gun, add a Sea Serpent from your deck to your hand, and then special summon a Mermail Abyss from your graveyard to your side of the field. Now, if you guys added Mullen Glacia, right now would be the perfect time to summon it, but keep in mind, if you summon Mullen Glacia right now, you're gonna have one less resource to work with, as well as when you start link summoning, you might just have to use Mullen Glacia as a link summoning, meaning that you can't enter your battle phase on the next turn. So the next thing I'm going to do is use the Abyss Megalo, Abyss and the Mermail Abyss Megalo for a link summon, and that's going to bring out number 42 Galaxy Tomahawk to our main monster zone. Next, we're going to detach 2 materials. I know I left Neptibus on my side of the field, and then that's going to special summon 3 additional tokens to your side of the field. Now, having the non-token monsters are extremely necessary to this combo, because we're going to use both of these monsters right here, right now. Boom, and I'm sorry, this is removed, and to the graveyard to special summon Nightmare Goblin to our side of the field. And Nightmare Goblin has an interesting effect. We're going to pitch the Megalo to gain the additional normal summon, but we're not going to use it just quite yet. We're going to use the Mastarboy and the Mastarboy, the Neptibus, and a token for a link summon, and that's going to make Firewall Dragon into our main monster zone, pointing right here. And then next, we're going to use the token for another link summon of the Link Spider right up top. Now we can gain our additional normal summon through Nightmare Goblin, and we're going to normal summon Jinx Undyne. Undyne effect is going to activate, and it's going to send Nimble Angler from your deck to your graveyard and trigger off Angler. Now with Angler, you want to summon Nimble Sunfish. I'm going to summon it right here. And you also want to summon Nimble Beaver from your deck to your side of the field. And there's multiple reasons why I want to run multiple Sunfishes, because as I'm starting to get deeper into this combo, you guys are going to realize that I can activate Angler twice in one turn, because it doesn't have a once per turn clause. I'm going to use these 2 monsters. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to add one Undyne. That's actually really important that you add one Undyne, because first of all, it's mandatory. Second of all, you actually do need a monster in your hand. I'm going to use the Nimble Beaver and the Jinx Undyne for another link summon. And that link monster that's going to be provided to my side of the field is going to be Proxy Dragon. Now, I'm going to trigger Firewall Dragon's effect to special summon, but also as Chain Link 2, I'm going to trigger Firewall Dragon's effect to add from my graveyard to my side of the field. So as long as you're adding 2 copies of Atlantean Dragoons, you're safe. The third card I'm actually going to add is the Nimble Angler, but it all depends on what you have in your hand to get that add. Now I'm going to special summon Atlantean Dragoons to my side of the field, and I'm going to perform yet another link summon. I'm going to use Nightmare Goblin and the Proxy Dragon. I hope I'm doing this right. I'm going to use these 2 monsters for the summon. Where's that monster? For the summon of my Nightmare Griffin, and yes, I am doing it right. Nightmare Griffin's effect is now going to trigger, and that's going to allow me to special summon Atlantean Dragoons to my side of the field. Now, both of the Atlantean Dragoons are going to be used for an additional link, or for an Exceed summon of Bahamut Shark. Bahamut Shark to detach to special summon Totally Awesome to my side of the field, and now Dragoon's effect is going to trigger yet again. And with that, I'm going to be able to add a Sea Serpent monster from my deck to my hand. Doesn't matter which Sea Serpent monster you guys choose to add, it's gonna get discarded anyways. I'm gonna go ahead and add a Atlantean Marksman. So right now my hand is an Angler, a Controller, and a Marksman, and you guys can still see where I can continue to combo off. If I decide to play certain cards, I can use the Bahamut Shark, the Link Spider, and the Nimble Sunfish. I think regardless, I would be using this to make the Nightmare Unicorn. And if my opponent has a monster on their side of the field, I can pitch the Angler to return a card to their deck, and then trigger the Angler to special summon 2 more Nimble monsters from my deck to my side of the field. Unfortunately, I only play 1 Nimble Sunfish inside of this board, but I'm going to end up with 2 Nimble Beavers to my side of the field, which I could use for another link summon of, or I'm sorry, if it was a Beaver and a Sunfish, I could use for a link summon for my Nightmare Cerebus to point to my Firewall Dragon, and then I'll be able to draw more cards off of Nightmare Unicorn's effect on the next turn. But unfortunately, there's going to be 2 Nimble Beavers to my side of the field, and I haven't quite yet figured out what to do with it. I figured that I could use 1, 2, 3, and 4 monsters to make a YuGiOh and draw 4 cards, and now Nightmare Monster is out of my link zone. I got rid of some cards and I can continue to go off. Really, it depends on the rest of your hand. If you guys ask me, you can combo off however you guys like to. Thank you guys so much for watching another segment of the TheCaliEffect. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give this video a like and comment down below in the comment section what combos would you guys like to see, some combos that you guys might have, and if we have enough, I just might do a combo tutorial / test hands video of this deck. Thank you guys again so much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, but most of all, enjoy. This deck is extremely fun.